let's just start. I hope you had a first good day at the Gradle Summit. First day at the Gradle Summit. My name is Rene Groeschke. I'm working at the Gradle as a consultant and a developer at Gradeware, doing mostly Gradle co-developing and helping others improving their CI infrastructure. Today we want to talk about Gradle in the developer tooling ecosystem. What I mean by this is, we want to look at how the developer perspective, or from the developer perspective of the build chain, we look at how Gradle integrates with tools directly affected, or the developer is directly affected by. So when it comes to tooling, especially for the developers, it's crucial to the choice you do on which tools you want to use or you want to work with has a deep impact on your daily work, right? So it's and it has a deep impact on your productivity. So Gradle can help you to some degree there. So you can, by using the Gradle daemon and having a source control in place, it's easy to be, or you're able to build your stuff and compile your stuff and packaging all your stuff up really easily on your developer machine. The problem is when it comes to development, you don't want you want an IDE, right? You want to have code completion, you want to have refactoring support. You might need to debug your code, stuff like this. But it's all about productivity, and there was this book, or there's this book out there called, written by Jess Humble about continuous integration, and the metric they use for calculating or having a metric in place for saying something about productivity is a cycle time, and it says the cycle time is the time between an idea pops up and it is integrated in your product. So yeah, it's all about gaining productivity for the developers. So the tools we want to look at today, we look at some IDEs, how they integrate with Gradle. We have a look at some continuous integration server, not just these two, I have another one. And after that, I will also give a small introduction about continuous integration as a service. So there are providers out there which are platforms on the internet where you can just configure your build remotely. You don't have to host the stuff on your own, so you can just consume it as a service. It's often free for open source, but it can scale for enterprise too. One other thing we take a look at is Sonar integration, how Gradle integrates with Sonar. When I run over the slides, it's now called Sonar Cube since I think last night or something like this. I was on the homepage to get the hook line for what Sonar is, and we are now Sonar Cube, and I thought, should I change my slide? No, I didn't. And we have a look on the integration there. And as a last step, I want to show how Gradle integrates with JRebel. Anybody using JRebel yet? You do? It's all about boosting productivity. JRebel provides, or what JRebel does, it reduces the deployment cycle by allowing things like hot deployment. So if you change a class, it is directly picked up by the application server. You don't have to do all this stuff the application server compile, deploy again, and stuff like this. So IDEs. Having good integration between Gradle and the IDE, I think, is crucial for different reasons. One reason is you want to have when you don't integrate your build tool with the IDE, you have the problem that what is built on the CI server or what is built in terms of or when it gets to a release must not be the identical thing you built when you're setting up your IDE. So I was at a customer last week or so. They have about 500 developers, and at the moment they have no automated way to generate IDE metadata files, importing Maven or whatever aren't Gradle projects. So they have 500 developers, and I said, well, then you have at least 300 different IDE setups, and they say, well, to be honest, it might be at least 450. So that's a problem. And it's not just the onboarding process that you want to get new developers fast into production. It's also about that tracing problems, right? So if I work with you and I change you have a different workspace, I can't reproduce the problem. Or the typical scenario I had often in the past was that developers say it works on my machine, right? And that's everybody heard, but it shouldn't be the case. So first I prepared a demo, or for most of the stuff I prepared some demos to show live how it works. The first idea I want to show, or the integration, is NetBeans. This was initiated by Gertjan Bilenga. I hope I pronounced it well. I think he's a lead of the NetBeans platform, so he's Mr. NetBeans itself. The Gradle plugin is hosted at GitHub, and it's open source, so you can, if you are using or want to use NetBeans, you can join it. Let's have a look. So when it comes to IDE integration with NetBeans, let me say a few words about this. One thing is that in the past, or as a default, NetBeans relies on the Ant build system. So everything you do in terms of building your project and running the project is delegated to Ant tasks. And the nice thing about this, or what the IDE integration for Gradle did, or the Gradle plugin for NetBeans, they just replaced this delegating to Ant by delegating to Gradle. So this was really deep integration. So let's import a project here. For this example, I use a Spring integration multi-project build. So I selected it, and now you can see all the dependencies declared in the Gradle file are automatically downloaded. Took some time. Nothing is in the cache. Now you got a list of all the sub-projects here. So it's a multi-project build as mentioned earlier. And now you can select some of them you want to work on. You can just say open these two projects. You have immediately those Gradle projects in place. So some time to. So you have the Gradle integration takes care about loading all the third-party dependencies. Or setting up the project dependencies. So Spring integration Twitter depends on Spring integration core. You can see this here. And all the third-party plugin or third-party dependencies are packages as jars resolved from a repository. So now you have different things you can do. You can run a debug build test clean and build, generate JavaScript doc. And the nice thing, all of those tasks here are directly delegated to Gradle. So you can see that when you select Gradle build from the context menu, or you just select build from the context menu, it's directly delegated to Gradle. Same for JavaDoc. So it's really deep or tightly integrated. Now it's what we just created. There's a JavaDoc. So it works. Even the test execution is delegated to Gradle. So you can run the tests. And you can even say test a specific file. Gradle. You can do this from command line too. So Gradle or the Gradle integration for NetBeans just uses this Gradle feature. So now I want to change some dependencies. So that's the biggest part when dealing with ED integration, is that you have one definition of your dependency. You have no duplication. There are scenarios, or I know from the past, where people put everything in the .classpath file for Eclipse and use this class file as metadata for their ARM build. This works to some degree, but we run into several issues there. So what we want to do is we want to update some dependencies. So let's look it up using newer JUnit version and now run test. Automatically, I had it in cache before, but you now see that JUnit 4.11 is automatically part of the class part. Here we have a main file, for example, and I can execute it, and even running a specific file is delegated to Gradle. And you can even, so now it's just executed, but you can even debug it. So what they do is they add some arguments to the, when they initiate the Gradle build behind, they add some custom arguments or some custom build logic to make this happen. And there's the output. So other thing is when you have separate. Well, now I want to reconfigure things. That's a limitation. To some degree, it's a limitation. So I declare a new source set named intake test. I want a separate source set for dealing with my integration tests. What I have to do is I have to, and I have a class there already. This is a limitation in the NetBeans support at the moment. Though they are deeply integrated, they don't support separate or new sources. That's definitely a limitation of the plugin. Let's look at the. So what you can see here is how I modify a build.gradle file, and as you can see, NetBeans does not support any kind of code completion, so it's another limitation at the moment. But you can select, you can just type it or create a task, and you can, it's automatically picked up and you can run it. So let's say here we go. Yeah, that's kind of nice. You have different options when it comes to execution or which Gradle version should be used. As default, I think it uses the wrapper. You can add custom or configure custom Gradle installation directories. You can add any JVM arguments you like. Yeah, that's the NetBeans integration. Tightly coupled, but a bit not that flexible. The Gradle plugin for Eclipse, or let's say the Gradle plugin for Eclipse was initiated by the Spring Source guys. The main reason for them for writing the Gradle plugin or the Eclipse plugin for us was that Spring Source moved to Gradle, I think last year in March or something like this, and they need this on their own, right? So they wrote this plugin for us. The Gradle plugin for Eclipse needs Eclipse, at least requires Eclipse 3.7.2. After it was closed source for I think a year or so, or let's say, yeah, it was closed source. It's now open source under the Eclipse public license. You can have a look at it, trace it at GitHub. Yeah, it's now officially open source, so it's still driven by the Spring Source guide, but everybody is invited to join. Yeah, let's take a look at this one. So what I did for my demo is I used the Groovy Grades tool suite. It's some kind of pre-packaged Eclipse installation, especially focused on Groovy and Grades development, but this plugin can be installed on any plain Eclipse installation using the known plugin infrastructure. So when I want to import a Gradle project, I can select a specific type here I want to import. So I choose Gradle project, and now I select project I want to integrate. Let's choose the Spring integration again. And what I need to do now is I need to build up the model, or the Gradle model of this multi-project build. The reason for that is that Gradle is flexible in terms of configuring where your multi-project is located, where the submodules are, and it's nothing which is provided by conventions. So you must to configure, or you must to calculate this model first. What it does here, it triggers under the hood. It triggers a Gradle daemon. A Gradle daemon is some kind of background process. Which just accepts requests from the IDE, give me information about the Gradle model. And what we have here is now we have all those submodules. And now I can say which one I want to select. Let me select some of them. To be able to build, it might be necessary to have some other projects imported because they are inter-project dependencies, stuff like this. So I need the test sub-project too. And what I can specify when I import a project, I can say here, I can say before importing the project to Eclipse, trigger some task for me. This is helpful, especially when you do things like when you have JXP stuff or you have code generation, stuff like this. You would configure it here to say run the code generation first and then import it in Eclipse, so that you don't have to, that you have all your sources in place when you work in your IDE. Then you can configure if the dependency management should be done by Gradle, so that all the dependencies listed in your projects are managed by Gradle, or if you want to do it on your own. Yeah, you can. They have, to some degree, they have some DSL support. You can disable it or enable it. It's the reason why they provide this option here, that the DSL supports need some additional libraries in the Gradle project or in the project itself. Just see that. So now I import the project. What it does again, if I don't have the jars in the cache, downloads them automatically from the repository declared in the build file. Takes some time. Yeah.
So in my project, we tend to use dynamic versioning. So at any given moment, one of our 20 dependencies may upgrade a version, and we pick it up. And I've had a lot of trouble with Eclipse. I set it up once, and it seems to work. But when versions start to change, the whole project seems to get out of sync.
How do you configure this dynamic version? So you use things like dynamic version in terms of 3.+ and stuff like this?
We have a convention called latest.release or latest.snapshot.
Okay.
And it does, I guess we wrote our own dependency resolution layer. It goes and figures, goes to Artifactory, calculates all those. But in Eclipse, what it does, it's setting those class paths to specific versions, right? So when they change,
what Eclipse does, when it downloads a file, or let's say you resolve latest whatever, it puts Gradle hits your repository, and the repository tells you which library to choose, and it puts it in the cache. And what the Eclipse tooling does is it uses especially this file and puts it in and reference it in the Eclipse class. So you have no information that it was dynamic before. The information is still in the IDE. I think what you have, do you use this dependency management by Gradle, or so you need to do refresh your dependencies all the time? Then it should work, right?
Yeah, I guess it seems to get out of sync. I didn't know if you had experience with that.
Maybe we can have a look on this later. Yeah. So we imported it. So what we have here is we have all the source the source directories I have in place for my project. That are the dependencies which are needed by the DSDL or by the DSL support. Basically some great stuff and some third-party things. And the other thing you need for the DSL support is the Groovy libraries. If you would enable it, you wouldn't see that. And here we have the dependencies, just the ones we declared in our Gradle script. They're bundled in this dependency container. So we see the same stuff we saw earlier in the NetBeans build. So the dependencies declared. what you can configure, that I think that's pretty new, is how the dependencies should show up in your class path, alphabetically or as returned by the build script. Usually you want to have returned by the build script. Best practice should be that the ordering shouldn't matter, right? So in reality it often does. So if you have to deal with class path issues, this option would help you. So let's take a look at the build path. So we have the containers here. We have the all projects which are part of the multi-project builds and declared as a dependency are added as a project dependency. We have the source folders in place. Unfortunately, Eclipse does not support the distinction between test class path and runtime class path, so you have just one class path for the whole project.
How does the plugin handle hierarchical projects? I know you did that configuration initially, but let's say you had the classic build.gradle at the root and then build.gradle in the submodule. How will it represent it?
The problem with Eclipse is that Eclipse does not out of the box support for nested hierarchies. As you can see here, so Spring integration is my root project, and this one is what they do is they use some resource filtering to present it as a plain hierarchy. But yeah, I think it depends on how deep nesting you do and stuff like this, how well this works. I never tried really deep nested projects setup.
So this is similar in handling to the way into Eclipse handles nesting.
Yeah, there is no
Okay.
Eclipse does not know nest
Right.
handling. That's the main issue you have to tackle. That's why we do. So if I want to change a dependency like I did before, I can do it quite similarly to how I did it in NetBeans. I select I need to find the definition in the build script. Let's update this, download this. And then I can have this Gradle menu here where I can refresh dependencies. At the moment I always have to do this manually if I change any dependencies. So JUnit is downloaded, Harmtress is downloaded, and the other one was already in cache. And when I look in the dependencies ID, I should see that JUnit and Neo4j are the new libraries. So just to be sure that everything was imported correctly, run the test, it works. So now I have again this integration test, what I wasn't able to import in NetBeans. So let's see how Eclipse deals with that. Yeah, just have the main and the test resources at the moment, so I need to modify my build script. Again, adding a source set. And by just adding the source set, I can say Gradle refresh folders. And what I got for free, or what I got now is a new source folder with my class on it, and I can run the unit test. Yeah. So what I can also do is I can trigger a specific specific Gradle tasks. So here I have an overview. I have to refresh the model when I do it the first time, which runs the configuration phase in Gradle, so that you know which tasks are available. So now I can select whatever I want to run. You can specify the ordering of the task if you depend on that, or if you need that. You can configure whatever arguments you want to use for the Gradle build. So let's create a profile report as a default for everyone. Solutions quite double check that everything was correctly executed. Yeah, the Java doc. The Java doc. Yeah, the test report. Yeah. It's up to date, stuff like this. Run it again, and now if you want to declare a custom task, let's change the font a bit. So I have some kind of with this DSDL support, what I call it in Eclipse. I have some kind of code completion here. It's not that deep as when you write Java code, because it does not calculate the whole Gradle model behind the build script. It just does some default guesses. For example, the project object always has a repository closure, so it knows about repositories. And you can, same thing for, let's say, configure maybe central. So you have some basic support, some basic documentation, which reference to the Gradle Java doc. Quite nice. Creation does, can reference the Gradle documentation directly from the editor, and I have some basic highlighting when it comes to Groovy code. So now when I want to print the repositories. execute a task from this task menu. So yeah, pretty execute whatever task I declared. Yeah, it's mainly how Eclipse integrates with Gradle. The other part of the story is generating or customize the Eclipse setup from Gradle itself. I don't want to show this. There's a dedicated talk about dealing with the IDE where Peter and Luke are showing how you can modify specific things you want to configure in your IDE from the Gradle build script, like setting up automatically your Git setup or stuff like this, or custom configurations, whatever we have. Yeah. Who of you is using IntelliJ instead of no IntelliJ? Yeah, no problem.
I'm on the fence. I'm just about that.
Okay, so Gradle started, or IntelliJ, they started really soon with supporting Gradle to some degree. But after some really good starting point, they lost a bit track on this, and it seemed, we discussed it earlier, it seemed that they had other focus in the meantime, but now Gradle support is bundled directly with IDEA. I think this is since IDEA 12 or something. Before it was an external, or it was an extra plugin you had to install. Or it was written by the JetBrains guys, but it was an external plugin called JetGradle or something like this. Now it's they have a dedicated blog where they inform about news and updates about this stuff. When it comes to integration with Gradle, there are two stories in the. I want to say when talking about IDEA, they offer some similar support as you have in what I just demoed with STS, right? So you can import stuff, you can execute tasks, you can delegate the dependencies to be resolved by Gradle. The other story is that I think Hans mentioned it yesterday that the Android guys are just moved to IDEA, and they use IDEA 13 as a platform for their Android development. And what they do under the hood, or what they do with the Android platform, is that every compilation, every test execution, everything you want to invoke on your Android project is delegated to the Gradle process. So it's to some degree it's similar as a NetBeans guys work. So where everything is delegated to the build system. We think this is the future of how it should work. But there are lots of stuff to work on to make Gradle faster, to make this integration more robust. For example, you have a long-living Gradle process for that. There's lots of stuff to work on. For example, in Android you have these different kinds of variants, so you can have different types of, or you have different implementations of the same class, depending on if you want to work on your free version or on your paid version, stuff like this. And this is something the IDEA folks or the JetBrains folks have to implement to support. So after looking at some IDE integration, I haven't covered yet for the JavaScript guys. There's a plugin for TextMate written by Luke. If you want, let's talk about the iServer. what CI server do you use? Jenkins. Jenkins is the most popular one. Okay. There are some, I have a bit of opinion, but doesn't matter. There's a build server named Bamboo. It's maintained, or it's a product by Atlassian. The nice thing about Bamboo is that it integrates nicely with the whole Atlassian tool suite. If you're already using Jira or Stash or your Wiki or whatever, the greatest support in Bamboo is realized by an add-on, and it's initiated by JFrog. So let's have a look on this one. It's quite simple. So what you have to do is you have to create an add-on. But there's an add-on available for Gradle. I have a new project here. Project in a Git repository, want to build a master branch. In Bamboo you add tasks. So what you can always do if you have a CI server which does not provide Gradle support out of the box, you can always invoke it as a bash, right? You can use the Gradle wrapper, for example. So I create a command here, name it .gradlew, but the better integration is using the Artifactory guys or the JFrog guys. They wrote a Gradle plugin for us, and it provides a better UI for configuring things. So you can just get a description, provide any command line options you want to have. Some default values. As a default, the test results or put it in another directory. So I have gradients task, I have a test pickup. So let's run it. Yeah, that's it. The tests. Jenkins. The nice thing for Jenkins is the Jenkins Gradle plugin. I think is the oldest plugin for any CI server. It was released in very early days in 2008. Version 1.0. It's written by Gregory Boissino. It's one of the Jenkins committers. It's open source, hosted at GitHub if you want to join. They have a roadmap available. where I explain what I want to do in the future. And yeah, I'm not sure if all of you attended the keynote yesterday given by Hans. What we want to do in the future is more tight integration with Jenkins, so that you can model the build jobs, the different build jobs you need for a project directly in a Gradle build or vice versa. And let's check this. There we have a plain new Jenkins. So what I have to do is I have to install the plugin. When I'm done with that, I can configure the plugin if I need to. For example, I can install different Gradle versions. They are automatically picked up from our website. Another one. That's it. So this way you can manage the versions you want to use in your Jenkins directly. You can manage the Gradle versions in your Jenkins. So let's create a build job. So we need to get the sources. And I can now select the versions I have. I just have installed, or I can use a Gradle webber. So add some switches, add some tasks. Straightforward. All you get is project. It provides to some degree some highlighting, some output highlighting, which is nice. And you get an overview which tasks were executed, you can navigate to them and stuff like this. Did is we declared a wrapper here. You can move the Gradle wrapper if you like, which makes it using the Gradle wrapper makes it much easier dealing with all your different agents. So if you declare a version, you pre-install it, you have to manage all the versions automatically or manually in your Jenkins slaves. So up. Let's have a look on how the output is when Gradle fails. One thing I miss when using Jenkins is that it is not. I still have a problem with the UI on Jenkins. I think it does not provide enough information to get for the developer, or maybe for the developers, but I was asked from some project managers, and they want to have an overview, and they want to see if the build is red, why it's failed, and you can't see that on the first side because you just have this red icon. What I did is what I customized Jenkins to deal with this better, and what I use for that is I use Groovy post-build actions. So with Groovy post-build you can reference all the Jenkins model by doing within your Groovy script, and you can modify the output of your task. So what I do is I say, please give me a trace log output, and I'm looking for execution failed, for example. And I want to have the task name which has failed. So do some regex expression. If there's any match, so execution failed, I configure I reconfigure the job output. So I say manager build description as information about which task has failed. You see on the first glance what task has failed, and when you configure the specific view, here sample view, and there I get a list of all executed jobs I have, and get the information which build has failed just on the first view. That's a way how you can add custom needs to your Jenkins integration. Next one is TeamCity. TeamCity has first class support for Gradle. It ships in TeamCity terms. They have different runners. They have an ARM runner, Maven runner, stuff like this. So Gradle runner is just first-class citizen there. Yeah, anybody using TeamCity? Considering TeamCity? We use TeamCity and we like it, so I think it's the best one. If you don't, whatever. We don't use it, we can skip it.
Why do you guys like it?
One thing I always hate about, well, Jenkins is really it's great support in plugins, and there's a huge community behind that. But what I saw in the past is that they release always every week or so, or every 2 weeks. And what I notice is you have to at least wait till Thursday when they, to ensure that they don't break anything. I have used, it's been a while that I used Jenkins, so maybe they changed, but in the past it was really often that they just break the build. So updating or keep track with the recent changes was really hard or a huge effort. And the other thing is, I think they don't provide an out-of-the-box support when it comes to UI, but the UI, they need a polishing. In my opinion, they should hire someone to. It's just awful. And but the other story, despite that it just don't look nice, it does not provide out-of-the-box support for staging and for doing promotion, stuff like this. You can model that with some custom plugins. I think there are promotion plugins, but on my former company we used this stuff, and it was really, I wouldn't rely on that. So yeah, there was a difference between what Jenkins. So you reference the latest build and the promotion stuff, it just didn't work for us. And TeamCity offers this functionality out of the box, and all this kind of modeling your different staging and spreading tasks is, I think, is much nicer than in TeamCity. And other tools like, I think Bamboo does the same. They provide those features, or anybody heard of Go? Go is a team server, or is a CI server written by the ThoughtWorks guys. They provide the same modeling of different stages and stuff like this. Is anybody using Sonar? Okay, cool. Sonar Cube now. Let's have a look on Sonar integration. We skip Jenkins, right? So what I have here is for testing, I have the pet cleaning application. It's a very basic web application written by the Spring guys, just for showing how Spring works. So nothing fancy. Just to show you the app. So that's a pet clinic, very basic. Now I want to add Sonar support. Sonar support is a shipped Gradle plugin. For those of you not knowing Sonar, with Sonar you can do, what they say is that they are a code quality management platform. That's what I call it. What they provide is you can track the quality of a code not just as a timestamp version, or not timestamp based as you do with Jenkins or stuff like this, where you have a build and you have information what quality the code is about. Here you can do things like see over time how the quality increases or decreases, whatever. This is an open source instance where they host some open source applications. You can track duplication of code, comments, statistics, major critical blocker issues, stuff like this. And you can assign developers on tackling this stuff, And here you have this nice chart where you see what release had which quality, stuff like this. It's really nice if you want to improve your, or if you want to improve your code base. Yeah. So there's nothing needed by, or you don't need any plugin in Sonar to deal with Gradle. Or what you need is to use the internal or our shipped Sonar plugin. There are two plugins out there. The reason for that is that Sonar had the breaking change in their API after, I think, in 3.0 or so. So there's a Sonar runner, which is a newer one, which just delegates to Sonar. So what it does, so you need some configuration, setting some properties. Configure the host runner. Basically, these 8 lines of code should be enough to trigger Sonar from the Gradle part. Let's see. Fix. Oh, I missed something. I need to specify the JVC driver. I should see a Sonar task there. There's a Sonar runner, and now I can just invoke this task. Yeah, and here you can see the different sensors, what I call it in Sonar, are triggered. Sonar instance. So there's our pet clinic application. Here you have the bugs, the issues listed. And if you want, So what you see here is that no code coverage is tracked. So no unit test coverage at all. What we can do, or what the Sonar runner does out of the box, if you apply the Jacoco plugin, we now ship with Gradle. You can say Jacoco. Coverage. Now I'm running it again. You have to run the test, gather the information, and now you can see that Jacoco automation or Jacoco information is automatically picked up. So when I go there, we have a code coverage at about 30 second. Yeah, nice tool. For those of you not using it yet, just consider it. Let's talk a little bit about repository manager. I don't want to go that deep here. Hans already mentioned that we support Bintray, or we want a more tighter coupling with them. At the moment, if you want to resolve some artifacts from Bintray, you have to use a third-party plugin. For example, this written by David, whatever. It's hosted at GitHub. It's just a Gradle file you need to inline in your build, and then you can declare the repositories from the Bintray server. In the future, there's a outstanding pull request provided by I think it's Fred. It's a core developer at JFrog, or I think the lead architect, stuff like this. And they already sent us a pull request to have first-class support for Bintray as we have for Maven Central or for Ivy. And that will come, I'm not sure if this will be part in Java 1.7, or Gradle 1.7, but it will, at least in Gradle 1.8, I guess we have built-in Bintray support. The interaction with the other repositories, like Nexus or Artifactory, well, they're shipped with Gradle, so there's no specific plugins necessary. It's built-in support for dealing with repositories, as you know, as you hopefully know. I can declare any repositories I want to have. Nexus, Artifactory, or whatever, maybe a local file system or an SCP-based repository, whatever. The advanced interaction with Nexus and Artifactory when it comes to their commercial support, or what they support on their commercial products, they provide. You can interact with Gradle and Artifactory, for example, by plugins. Artifactory provides a plugin which allows you to integrate Jenkins, Gradle, and Artifactory in one pipeline, let's say. This way, what you can do is you can trace the build, or each jar file hosted in the Artifactory can be traced back to the build which produced it. Both of these tools provide a rich REST API you can use for adding custom properties, stuff like this, or Nexus, the whole staging automatism you can trigger using the REST API, but we don't ship built-in support for this. Or if you want to deploy to a custom or to stage URL, you have to use these custom URLs. They are created by convention for the Nexus repository. Let's talk a little bit about CI as a service. There are some services out there which offers CI, or which offer you to host your build or your CI infrastructure in their environment. One player in the field is, for example, BuildHive. BuildHive is a mix of, on top of the whole CloudBees cloud solution suite, they set up a Jenkins. They set up a Jenkins engine or environment where you can configure your Jenkins jobs. At the moment, they only support GitHub as a repository. They have a rich ecosystem and some good partner services to integrate other things like Bintray, for example, but the automatic set. They have some kind of automatic setup, so if there's a Gradle file available, they will treat your project as a Gradle project. The problem with that is if there's also a POM available, Maven wins. So it would use the POM first. Maybe I can show you that. It's quite easy. No, it isn't. No, I thought it is. So I'm starting on the GitHub. So it's quite easy to set this up. I just say add a Git repository. Now my Git repositories are listed here. Let's take. Let's enable this one and this one. Now so what you see is it has to some degree it reminds you on the Jenkins UI, so it should feel home there. Is it triggered? Just starting. So it's free for open source project. I think I don't know the fees. I don't want to sell it, but you can order. You can scale it up to I don't know how many build jobs they offer for commercial support. Took a bit of time. Well, in the meantime, what we can do in the meantime is take a look at the other solutions. I found 3 of them. The other one would be Drone.io. Drone.io, the good thing about them is they offer support for multiple source control systems, so you can not just GitHub, you can use, I think, Bitbucket, and they also support Google Code. What I notice is when you think about hosting your open source project, Drone.io might be the best choice. They offer, the UI is quite nice. I finished it, so this one's finished. So let's have a look on Drone.io shortly. So here you have GitHub, Bitbucket, Google support. It's also just some clicking. So select this one. You can tell them what kind of project you have, and then you specify what you want to invoke. So we use a Gradle wrapper.
What's the name? Jenkins?
I don't know. I think there's no build, no out of the box build server there underneath.
They're just building from the.
They have their own infrastructure, I guess. Yeah. For Drone.io, I don't know it. I had a chat with the guys from GradleCI. They did do something similar. Yeah, you can configure a test stuff like this. It what they did is, let's move on a bit. What Travis CI do, they use a YAML script where you describe what you want to build. It's some kind of their own DSL. In this one, they support Gradle to some degree. So let's have a quick look what I'm talking about when I say YAML. So what you need is to set up Travis CI, which is the third one I don't want to show, just give you an idea. It doesn't work. My Wi-Fi connection sucks. Okay. Well, what you can do, or the nice thing about using Travis CI with the YAML script is that you can declare that you want to build on 3 different JVMs, and they just spread the build for you. So it's some kind of do some spreading. So you have a build job. If you did a change, they use GitHub hooks to check if something has changed, and then they trigger one build, and you have 1.1 for OpenJDK, 1.2 and stuff like this. What I wrote here is that Gradle support has space for improvement. What I mean by that is they invested in the past a lot of time in improving the performance for their Maven builds. So one thing they did is, if you use Maven, or if you trigger Maven, they automatically redirect you to their own mirror to have some just performance improvements. And all those kinds of tweaks which improve the performance are not yet there for Gradle. So I pinged them, I'm speaking to them, but we haven't tackled it yet. Another thing is that they can't handle, or they don't handle very well the dynamic output of Gradle. So if you do something, if you see the download messages where we do show the percentage, it just, at the moment it's correct output. They promise to work on this, but it's some hack for them. What they have underneath is they have a huge set of, they have dedicated root server where they do some virtual divide, whatever. Originally they came from the Ruby world, and that's what you still notice when working with JREP or when working with Travis. So before having a break, last thing you want to show is JRebel. So you know JRebel? Who else knows at least what JRebel does? JRebel is a tool. It's a commercial tool written by the Zero Turnaround guys. It's about like the name says, they want to reduce the turnaround side or the cycle time for the developers, and by allowing you automatic deployments, so that you don't need to, or hot deployments, that you don't need to restart anything. So it's quite nice. How does it work? So again, we use this pet clinic project here. And what I need to do is they provide a Gradle plugin out of the box. There, maybe is a bit ridiculous. So what I do here is I add a custom plugin to my Gradle workspace. So I say auxiliary turnaround. Change the snapshot. Now I can say apply plugin Gradle. By applying this plugin, I get 2 tasks for free. So here I see generate level, generate rebel. They have another tool called Live Rebel, which deals with, which is a tool that allows you to manage your deployments. It's a web UI where you just publish your application to, and you can say stage it where, stage it in this, so stuff. But I want to JRebel, so you can get this generate rebel file task. Sorry. And what it does for you, it creates an XML file in your output directory, rebel XML. That's the XML JRebel needs to allow this hot deployment stuff. So what you actually do is you say where your sources are located and where your compiled classes end up. And the way it works is that when invoking your Java job, you have to specify the JRebel agent to your environment. Since we're using the Gradle wrapper here, I can just, for this demo, I just hard-coded the link, the Rebel home directory, and pass the Java agent here. So let's run the project. I just had the demo license, so we have to deal with the output. And as you can see, they provide a lot of plugins for Wicked, for Moustache, Restlet, VRaptor. They deal very well with Gradle, or with Spring projects, Eclipse support, Camel, Jersey, whatever. You can change your your log4j configuration ad hoc, and it will be automatically picked up. So here we see that now Gradle is monitoring our property files, it's monitoring our Spring Bean definitions, it's monitoring our classes. And when let's start the app. Here, this little pet clinic stuff. So one thing, for example, when I now want to work on the application, I have this typo here. Usually what I need to do is I need to shut down the server, create a new war, stuff like this. Let's change the message file, so just fix the file. What I need to do is I need to run Gradle classes to create the new output. And once I did that in less than 2 seconds, I can just go to the page, use refresh, and refix this. Another example is, show me another example. You have this registration. And I good reasons. And to fix this, so at the moment there's this validator implementation which checks for the right telephone number and says that telephone is mandatory. So you can see it here, right? So that's what you can do is you can just comment out that stuff. So I changed the class implementation and do create classes changed, and now I can just move on within where I just left the application before changing it, and it automatically picks up the changes. That's huge performance boost when you have to work on application or on your server applications. Excellent tool, not that cheap, but they have a nice calculation about how much money you can save by reducing the time. Some, before we end, I think we're mostly done. Some notes about the future. Yeah, Hans said it yesterday in the keynote more or less, what we want to tackle next. We want to deeply integrate with Bintray. We have this plugin portal idea, which might be Bintray based. The future of the ID integration, I think Android paved the way there, where we just delegate everything to the build system to have one conscious way of declaring what a project looks like. There's another session going on about C++ support, so as part of that story we want to support, for example, we generate automatically Visual C metadata files to work with Visual C. Anything else I forgot? Any questions from your side?
The build dashboard, the
yes.
equivalent for the site report, what is the status of that?
What we did for now is that, let's say we, till version 1.7, we worked on the infrastructure underneath. So at the moment you get the HTML report, which just it's some kind of a dashboard, and it delegates to the class report, the PMD report, stuff like this. It needs some more love, let's say, some polishing in terms of at the moment we don't list. I think we don't list dependencies yet there and stuff like this. But yeah, the guy who started implementing it, he was originally working on the build dashboard plugin, and I told you last time that all the work which we thought is necessary underneath, he tackled most of it. So now I hope he still wants to fix it.
Will that include a somewhat standard definition of project metadata for things that are not compilable, like in the site report you have the developers and the CI server location, and all that stuff that made the report, some of which is useful?
I think it's easy to. I think at some point it will have, because it's an easy hook to add custom information there. So at the moment, what the Maven site plugin does, it just picks up what you declared in your form, right? If it's necessarily there or not. So it's in Gradle, it's easy to have a let's say dashboard specific extension where you want to add custom things. We haven't discussed in detail what information we want to have there and whatnot, but yeah, I told you that the site plugin is.
It's pretty awful.
Yeah, but we never thought that it has such a huge fan base. So why we haven't tackled this one yet.
I teach classes in Maven, or I should say, I used to. And I would tell people not to use the site plugin, but it is something that people use.
It's really popular.
It's a good aggregator for things that they didn't think were useful.
Yeah.
But for stuff like the test reports, schema, location,
Yeah.
REST API docs, etc., it's just one place, one people.
Yeah.
But I hear you have most.
Yeah, my first experience with the site plugin was when I came from Ant. It was some kind of, oh, I get this everything for free. It wasn't for free completely, right? Yeah, but we are still surprised about the popularity of the site plugin. Yeah, then thank you very much for attending and listening.